I was able to play Madden 25 early down at EA, so in this video I'm going to give you my hands-on impressions about the gameplay and some of the little details, kind of let you know what the game's feeling like. Now we're going face cam today because we still don't have any actual Madden 25 footage, so any footage that you do see up on the screen is going to be Madden 24 gameplay, just for some visuals in the background. I might throw up some Madden 25 screenshots or some of the social media little images that they put out there, but we don't have any full gameplay or trailers yet. However, the reveal trailer is supposedly dropping tomorrow. It was supposed to come out last week with the info, but that got delayed. They've been having a few delays both with college and with some Madden info, so hopefully that does still drop tomorrow, and if it does, of course I'll have it here on the channel right when it drops. Now if you don't want to miss out on any of that Madden 25 info, the gameplay, all the deep dives for franchise, or the college football info, we still got more deep dives on those coming, I think, starting back up this week. Make sure to subscribe, turn the bell icon on so you don't miss any of these videos when they drop. I'd like to hit 600k subs before the release of this game, so if everybody watching just subscribed, we would hit that number in a few days. So let's talk about the gameplay. Now I didn't get to play any of the modes or anything like that. This is just strictly on-field gameplay. I played a few different people, played for about 3 hours. I played different skill levels of people, so kind of got an overall view of how things felt from everybody, not just myself. And judging by some of the beta feedback that is out there, I've seen them on the forums, I think a lot of people feel similarly to the game that I felt after playing it at EA in terms of what I liked and what I didn't like. Also, in terms of the beta, I know a lot of people keep asking me for codes. I don't have codes right now. I don't know if I'm gonna have them. It seems like they're approaching the beta a little differently this year, not doing giveaways. I haven't seen any giveaways. I think they're kind of pushing the marketing aspect of the beta to the side and just doing it mostly for feedback now, which is, I think, a good thing. If I do get codes, I'll give them away on my social media, but as of now, I don't know if I'm gonna get any, and I haven't heard anything one way or the other. So the first thing we have to talk about in terms of the gameplay for this year's game is gonna be boom tech. That's the lingo for this year, the marketing term they're using. They've reworked the physics, they've reworked ball carrier, they've reworked movement a little bit. It's not a completely different movement system, but it is noticeably different. The physics of the game are noticeably better, and they've also revamped the hit stick quite a bit in my opinion. Some of it I don't like actually, but there is some of it that's good too, I guess. So here's the little boom tech clip that they released on their social media. It has a small little piece of gameplay in there, but it says a new physics system calculates player ratings and skill-based timing to deliver one-on-one ball carrier impacts for more authentic physical outcomes. And then this next clip here where they're showing ball carrier, it says combine hezzy steps, jukes, and spins with new branching animations, absorb hits, break tackles, and recover your balance based on the quality of the hits and the ratings of the players involved. Now that is going to be the thing you're going to feel the most different with when you play this game. And here's the thing, like year to year Madden gameplay is still Madden gameplay. It's not going to be drastically different one way or the other, at least not visually all the time, but it could feel different depending on how they change things. So the things you'll notice different this year for sure are the tackling. It's better. There obviously are still moments where the tackling can look bad. I definitely think I saw quite a number of those, but there's also times where the tackling looks the best that it's ever looked in Madden. It's definitely overall better than it is worse, and there's also more physics being accounted for, more so than probably any previous Madden game. And this is kind of the thing with Madden where they talk about animations versus physics, and the real thing is you need both. You need to animate the game. The more animations you have, actually the better the game is. How they interact with each other is kind of where Madden sometimes has missed the mark, where the physics just wasn't all the way there. And I still think this is an area that they can work a lot on as they continue just getting better on the engine that they're on and things like that. But the physics in this game are probably the best physics a Madden game has had. Is it the best physics we've ever seen, period? I don't know. That's up to you. I know there's been some games that has had crazy physics like Backbreaker, but the game overall wasn't fun to play because it was just nothing but ragdoll. So you kind of need good animations along with physics, and I think this is probably the best Madden has done physics so far. It's definitely a noticeable difference. Now when you get over to the ball carrier side of things, there's some good and there's some bad. So the ball carriers move quite differently than they have in the past. All of the moves have been redone, and they do this every so many years. You know, they say new ball carrier moves, new branching, you can chain the moves together. They do this every like 2, 3, 4 years. They change this, which is understandable. The more you go along, the more you redo these things, right? You don't just do physics or ball carrier moves one time and never touch it again. No, as years go on, you can improve on it, you can redo it, and you can make them better. And that's kind of what they've done here. But they have nerfed some of the ball carrier, like the juke from last year is dead. You can't do that anymore. Some people were against that, some people were for it. The thing with the juke last year is I think it's good for the everyday player, the more casual player. Anybody could have pulled off the juke last year. You could fake out anybody. You can make highlight plays, big plays. I kind of think that's good for the game because the average person playing the game isn't going to be this highly skilled player. They want to just pull off fun plays with their favorite players. The skill gap last year was in being able to tackle and stop the jukes, and it was very hard. I would say I couldn't even do it that consistently. This year, they want to go the opposite direction. They said that they felt the juke was way too easy, anybody could do it, and they were right, but I still think that is good for the game. But what they want to do is they want to make the skill in the ball carrier and not so much the defensive player. They want the skill to be, if you're going to fake somebody out, you're going to have to really time it. You're going to have to really hit the right type of juke. You're going to have to chain the moves together right. And I can see that argument too, because it's going to be harder for the casual player, but if you can figure out how to pull off a nasty juke, if you can figure out how to really fake somebody out, it's going to really feel more rewarding because you feel like you really earned that. Now, the spin move, I will say, is better. The spin move was atrocious last year. You couldn't even use it. The spin move, from the time I got to play and everybody else agreed on this, the spin move was definitely better than the juke move. So the spin move might be the one more people go to. I will say though, the juke and all the moves, they look more realistic than ever. Visually, the juke looks better. It doesn't look super speed bursty. It doesn't look like arcadish. It looks like real juke moves that they use in real life. And when you do pull it off correctly and fake somebody out, it looks amazing. It looks like you really earned it. It looks like a true juke that you would see in real life. The thing is, it's hard to do. It's like, it's not something you're going to do a lot. You're going to juke a lot and just get tackled. Now, really quickly before we continue, I do want to shout out today's video sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. If you like money and you like sports, then you've got to be on Underdog Fantasy playing their pick'em game. Basically, all you do is pick higher or lower on a wide variety of player stats, and if they hit, you can win some big money. But the best part about Underdog Fantasy is they'll always give you a free play at sign up, and they'll give you a bunch of free money to play with. So for example, tonight for the NBA Finals, if you sign up, they'll give you Jason Tatum to get a single point. And no matter when you sign up, they'll always have a free play like this for a guy to get a point or a guy to get a yard or something that's basically guaranteed to hit. And if you use my code RAY, R-A-Y, they'll give you up to $250 in bonus cash to play with. And you just can't beat that. Overall, the movement of this year's game is what's going to set it apart from previous games. If you've played the previous games, you're going to pick up this game and you're going to feel that it feels very different. It moves very different and it looks better than it ever has in a lot of aspects, but there are still some aspects where it doesn't. Sometimes the tackling still gets janky. It still gets a little warpy sometimes, but I think less so than we have seen. You definitely see more hits that look like real hits, tackles that look like real tackles. It looks like physics is taken more into account than it ever has, but because it's a game with so many moving parts on the field, you still do have a lot of instances where tackles look a little not the cleanest, or they look a little messy, or they look a little unrealistic. That's definitely still there. I just think, and that's always been the case when they've made tackling better, especially over these last few years. It's getting better, but you still have some of that old kind of legacy issues that do still linger around from time to time, and sometimes that breaks people's immersion. But for me, I've noticed the past few years, like 24 I thought was a good gameplay year. If you thought 24 was trash, then you're probably not going to like 25 that much. I don't know, but I think a lot of people kind of agreed that 24 was a pretty at least decent gameplay game from Madden, one of the best that it's been in a while. So if you like 24's gameplay or you thought it was at least passable, then I don't see why you wouldn't be okay with 25's, because 25's was 24's but with better movement, better physics, harder to use ball carrier moves, but it's more realistic overall. So if you like the more realistic aspect of things, I think you're gonna like it. Another great thing is players run like themselves. Now, not every single one, but they did mention they put signature styles in for certain players, and this is something they want to build out in the future. When they think player likeness, you know, you got to look beyond just the face and the hair and the gear that players wear. How do they move on the field? So like Christian McCaffrey, he looks like Christian McCaffrey. He runs like Christian McCaffrey. Isaiah Pacheco runs exactly like Isaiah Pacheco. That was one of the ones they featured, so I had to try him out in the game. He has that angry running style where it's like he's trying to stomp through the ground. He runs like that in the game, so that's cool. Now, I don't know how many players they did this for. I think this is something that's like a 2-year process where they want to build out and get signature styles for as many of the top players as possible, but they definitely have some in this game for sure. Now, going back to the tackling and the hits stick has been revamped, so it's definitely a more accurate hit stick, but the thing I hate about it is that there's so many broken tackles now, and that's obviously something they could tune. They could balance that. That's easy stuff to kind of fix, but there were a lot of broken tackles when I played it, and I felt the same way with the college game. That was my one gripe with the college game. There was a ton of broken tackles in that too, so it seems like both games kind of have similar styles in this area, but the hit stick is so much harder to land, and it'll tell you your timing if you're too early, if you're too late, if you're slightly early. So that's pretty cool, I think, but it seems really hard to land an accurate hit stick now, and especially if you're trying to hit stick from the side, those don't even seem like they really work, especially like that's where the physics is coming into play, the ratings and the size of players. A lot of the up high tackles are getting broken. I don't know if that's by design, because yeah, in real life, you try to tackle a Derrick Henry up top, you're probably not going to be too successful, but it just felt like it was kind of like that for everybody as well. So I think maybe some tuning was needed there, but you know, if you hit stick somebody on the shoulder, you know, they'll spin the proper way from where you're hitting them. If you hit them from the side, you know, where you land the hit stick is going to determine, based on the size of both players and the ratings, how the ball carrier is going to react. So now, instead of the ball carrier just getting knocked down, there's a whole bunch of new animations where the ball carrier can stumble this way, stumble that way. He can recover, he can kind of spin around, put his hand on the ground, regain his balance, and all of that stuff, which again makes it look more realistic. But there's also times because of this, when you try to hit stick, it looks a little janky because your guy will just bounce right off of him. I don't know if I love it yet. I think this needs tuning, but it's definitely harder to time the hit stick. It's harder to land a good one, and the ratings and the size of players definitely matters because you're going to see a lot of players bouncing off each other when you're trying to just make a weak hit stick or tackle attempt from the side, or you're going up high on a big guy. They're breaking the tackle. But it's just nice that all of that is like, finally, they've said this a bunch in the past. We're going to consider weight, momentum. We're going to consider how you're hitting a player. It never felt like that truly came to fruition in Madden. It always felt like it was a little bit, but it wasn't the full thing. This year, it feels like they've finally honed in on that. It just feels like they're finally really getting good on Frostbite. I don't think the engine is a big of a problem as other people think it is. If you get good with the engine and you stay with it for a while, that's better than just switching engines every few years. You want to master an engine, not just jump around to different ones. And I think they're finally getting to that point where they're completely comfortable on Frostbite after so many years, and there's been different iterations of Frostbite, I believe, and it just feels like they're finally really understanding how to work within it. But again, all that said, there's still a decent amount of those moments to me that still looked bad, but there's more good moments than bad, if that makes sense. Blocking is another area I felt was greatly improved, and this has always been an area that I've even said, even in Madden's heyday, blocking O-line has never been great. I don't really think in any football game. I think you can always cheese the O-line in any football game. You're going to always find a blitz or a way to dumb them out. But the thing with Madden is sometimes is players that just dumb out just on a regular pass rush, year to year. I felt the blocking was pretty good. I felt like pocket formation was really good. I felt like I was able to consistently climb the pocket more than I had been in previous games, and this is really noticeable because when the pocket and blocking is good when you can step up and scramble between the gap. There's some Maddens where that's very hard to do because the pocket breaks down so quickly, or the blocking overall just consistently will let a guy just come through untouched, even in a situation where you're not overloading or blitzing a lot of people. And all the time that I played, which again was only 3 hours, it's not that much time, I felt like I was able to step up, and if you didn't have a spy on the field, felt the same way with college as well. Both games had this, where you step up in the pocket, if there's not a spy, you can take off if there's a gap there to run, and that's when you know blocking is good, because when blocking isn't good, you can't do that. You can only scramble to the side. You can't step up and go through the lane. So I liked that. I felt this is, honestly, I don't want to like get too excited here because things change quickly. Different patches happen. People might find a crazy blitz, but it felt like the best blocking has felt, and maybe ever in Madden. And I don't really want to say that because all it takes is one thing for that to go 180. But what I played felt like really good offensive line blocking. I don't expect it to be perfect, mind you, every play like some people might. Players in real life dumb out all the time and just miss a guy or just miss an assignment. I'm not expecting the video game to get it perfect. I felt like it was pretty solid. They even said that they added over 500 new blocking animations, and it definitely shows. And there's different ways you can slide protect that have been added as well. And it also shows you who's targeting who in terms of like which blocker is taking which defender, and it'll let you know which defender is the hot defender, meaning if he were to blitz, he's uncovered, he's going to come in free, which I think is good. It's giving you that feedback so you know who's going to come in, why they're coming in, you know who's blocking who, and you can adjust accordingly. Catching is also really cool in this game as well. They added, I think, over 700 catch animations, they said, and that definitely showed. Of course, you still got the old ones there. They're not deleting the old ones. They're just adding more. They even have a lot of new one-handed snags, so they added a spectacular catch button, which I think is left bumper, L1. So kind of something more so you want to use if you're open. You don't want to use this in coverage as much. You want to go aggressive catch if you're, one-on-one. But if you're open and you want like kind of a stylish, like one-handed grab, there's different ways they can do spectacular catches, which looks pretty cool. But overall, there's just a ton of new catch animations in the game, ways to catch them on the sidelines and all of that. So I like that. I think it just makes the game look fresh, and it also just allows you to make catches that maybe you couldn't in the past. They even showed some specific things like back shoulder catches were in the game, and pylon throws, like real good fades and stuff. I didn't get to see that while playing, but they showed that in the presentation. So I can't wait till they break down exactly how to do those, because they definitely have the animations for them in the game to do them now, which is pretty cool. And I know a lot of people are going to ask, like, how's pass rush? How's defense? Pass rush felt kind of how it felt last year. Not too powerful, not too slow, kind of just about right. Maybe they could speed it up a little. It just kind of depends on the player you are. Some people like more time than others. Defense felt about what it felt like last year. Zones are zones, man is man. They're not overpowered one way or the other. I didn't see like just flat out dumbed out zones or anything like that. Match coverage also seemed pretty solid versus the formations it was supposed to work against. Match coverage is typically like a toss-up. Sometimes it's like really broken. Some years it's decent. Seemed pretty solid. Overall, man was good some plays. Other plays that got beat, which I think is how it should be. It shouldn't be OP. It shouldn't be useless. Zone, look, zone defense, you know, that you want them to stay where they're going to stay. Some players that are better rated are going to be a little more aggressive than others, but really you're going to want to click on and make plays in zone coverage. That's what it's going to come down to. Adjusting zone drops, making your adjustments on defense, being a good user, clicking around to try to stop, you know, meta plays, because there's always going to be a meta. Every sports game is going to have metas and overpowered stuff, so you got to really make those adjustments on defense. From a sim standpoint, if you're just playing in sim leagues and you don't have like meta stuff in place or you have rules in place, I think the defense is going to be fine overall. It didn't seem too OP one way or the other. It didn't seem completely useless. It just seemed about average. Another good thing is we got some of the great features from college football. We got the route stems where you can put the routes at any depth. You know, they've already revealed that. We've gotten the coverage shells where you can disguise your coverage shell, so no more baseline. You can set coverage shell disguises in your menu. We also got the switch stick on defense, so you can switch your players, you know, before the QB throws the ball. I think this is a chance to be a generational feature that a lot of people are going to use. But it didn't get everything that college got, because college needs to have, you know, its own distinct differences. We didn't get the wear and tear system, which I thought would be cool for this game. I think it will get it probably next year. I think they want to test that out in college, but we'll see. But I think they also want to just, for the first year especially, let college have its own stuff. Obviously, college has its own passing system. They have, you know, the movements faster, so it doesn't feel the same, and they have some different features, but some of the smaller features, like the ones I listed, those have come over to this game, and I think, you know, those are good additions. If they work for both games, they should be in both games. It appears that we're getting a ton of new plays in the game. They even showcased some of the Miami plays when they did their little post on Twitter last week. They definitely, you know, talked about, you know, in the Chiefs playbook too, they're going to have the play that they ran literally to win the Super Bowl. It seemed like a big focus was on a lot of the motion plays, because we're seeing motion being used so much more in the NFL. I mean, it was always used, but we're seeing it used like so much more now, where, you know, a guy comes in and then immediately shoots back out to the flat, or, you know, a guy shoots in and then, you know, he'll go that way, kind of cut back this way. But Miami's playbook, I definitely tried them out. They had a ton of these, like Tyreek and Raheem Mostert auto motion plays, ton of different variety. I saw in the Chiefs playbook, they had some of those new plays. They're making an emphasis on playbooks, and this is another thing they've done in the past. Like, oh, we're going to update playbooks a lot. We're going to put the real plays right in the game, and then sometimes they just don't do it. But I believe they said they changed the playbook system where I don't even think live playbooks are going to be a thing anymore. I might have misunderstood, but it sounds like now when they update, they can get it right into the same playbook, so there's not two different versions. I think that's what I heard. Will they actually do that? We'll see, because they've definitely made some playbook promises in the past and have not lived up to them. But the new plays that we're getting for this game looks pretty cool. More for the sim crowd. I think the hardcore crowd, they want to create their own motions, and they kind of took that out of the game because people found ways to get too glitchy with it. But the sim crowd, I think, will like this, because you're going to get the real Miami plays, the real Chiefs plays, and they're going to keep updating them, hopefully. And just to touch back on the player likeness to kind of wrap this up, I told you how players run like themselves, but another emphasis was on the QBs. A lot of QBs have their exact mannerisms and the way they stand in the game now, and this type of stuff is cool to me. It's kind of nerdy stuff, I think, but I like it because it makes the game feel real. They definitely are honing more into that immersion. We know they're updating presentation. They haven't really told us what they're going to exactly do, but they're making it more NFL-like now, a more NFL-like broadcast. We see that they brought in 2 new announced teams that you can rotate, which is awesome. Scoreboard at the bottom kind of looks like the ESPN scoreboard, which is just making it look more like an NFL game than a Madden game. And I said that in my last video, I think. There's like Madden presentation versus NFL presentation, and for the past 6 or 7 years we've had Madden presentation. Now they're going back to, hey, give them NFL presentation. That's what they want. So you're going to see quarterbacks, even some of them have their actual cadences in the game. I won't spoil who. They mentioned a few. You know, there's a few quarterbacks that have some unique cadences, so you can think of who that is. They'll probably dive deeper on that when they release this info, but QBs have their cadences, at least some of them. A lot of the big name QBs, they motion and they audible exactly how they would in real life. They have their exact stances. Like Mahomes stands just like Mahomes. Jalen Hurts squats down and stands just like Jalen Hurts. And I swear I thought this was in 24, but I had to go back and look, and it wasn't in 24, and I could have sworn it was. So I don't know why I thought that, but all that's in the game now. So, and again, the players that run like themselves, and the receivers too. The receivers have like more of the top end guys. You'll notice they have signature releases, how they release off the line, how they even run routes. Like Justin Jefferson, when he runs a corner, he doesn't just run it like he did in 24, where it's just, you know, a basic corner, or he just rounds it out. He'll even like like throw a little like head fake in there to kind of trick you to thinking he might be going inside and then he goes outside. They'll run an out route, you know, with these little like stutter releases and stuff. What I like about it, and this is like, again, if you're just like more of a competitive head-to-head guy, you might not appreciate this. If you're a sim guy, I'm kind of more in the middle, but I appreciate the little details because it makes it feel like that's the real players in the field. Like I said earlier, player likeness isn't just the face, the equipment, and the hair. It's how are they acting on field. Because any year you play the game, it's like, yeah, anybody could be in that Isaiah Pacheco jersey. That could just be an Isaiah Pacheco jersey, and like, yes, if I zoom in on his face, I could see it's his face, but how he runs, it just looks like anybody else. Now, when he runs, you're like, oh no, that's definitely Isaiah Pacheco. Or like when Jalen Hurts stands the way he does and audibles the way he does, you're like, no, that's definitely Jalen Hurts, or that's definitely Mahomes. He literally stands just like that before he gets the ball, or that's that QB, that's his cadence, or that's that wide receiver. That's exactly how he likes to release. That's exactly how he runs a corner route, or that's exactly how he runs a dig route. You're seeing more of those details, and to me, that's just cool. Another little immersion detail that they added is there's a lot of pre-play motion. Like on defense, the players really move around now. Like if you go to Madden 24, 23, whichever one you have, you break the huddle and the defense just kind of stands still. You might see a linebacker like just move and do this or something, but they're just like already set. Now when you break the huddle, you're going to notice like the safeties are like, they're drifting back. You'll see that linebackers are moving side to side in their spot. People are turning to the side and they're all communicating with each other pre-play. You'll notice the receivers, although they do this in 24, they talk with the sideline a little more, they move around more. So it just makes it look more like a real game. And again, this is kind of the nerdy stuff, but I love it because it actually looks like I'm watching a real game at times versus like, okay, everybody's just set up and it's very robotic. It's not like that anymore. And I think that was a great touch to the game. Now, if you want to know more about the details that we have for the game in terms of some of the modes and other features, make sure to check out this video right here on the screen.